All right. Well, if you are watching this on Wednesday evening, we are 16 days away from Christmas. We got the poinsettias out, and our Christmas spirit is alive. So I am excited to be here on Digging Deeper with you guys, as well as these studs to my right and to my left. So, as always here on Digging Deeper, I'm going to introduce them to you, along with a secondary question. We got two. I hope you guys are okay with that. One, your favorite family Christmas tradition, and then number two, are your Christmas lights up yet? We're going to go ladies first to my right, your left. Natalie Goins, a frequent flyer here on Digging Deeper. Favorite family Christmas tradition?
Okay, actually, I'm going to answer the second one first just because
Okay.
it's quick. Yes, we do have some lights up. I live with my friend Brittany, and we put lights up in our living room last night. Well, I watched her and her boyfriend put them up. And then second, tradition. Okay, well, we have some traditions, but something we've been doing more and more is like we've been writing on a little note card a yearly goal, and we put them in the bottom of our stocking, and we'll my family will pull them out on Christmas and like read them. And a lot of times we're like, yeah, you didn't accomplish that.
So last Christmas you wrote a goal and it's hanging in your stocking.
I think so. Yeah. I forgot what my goal was though.
That's
so
exciting.
probably didn't accomplish it.
Yeah, that does not sound like Mark at all.
Making goals. Oh
Right.
my gosh. He's like, if no one can spot the sarcasm, my dad is a big goal maker. And so he probably did make goals, but I don't know what I wrote down.
Man,
Well, I
stay
think-
tuned
yeah.
here and Digging Deeper. I'm excited. I'm invested in
I think
this.
some of us are just trying to get through the year.
Yeah.
So
Oh, it was probably something catchy like have 2020 vision in my life or some cute little catchy saying. But then if
Yeah.
you could edit it, it would just be like survive.
yeah. But our family, I think our big thing for this Christmas is we're looking forward to my youngest brother coming home and for some people don't know this, but he was on day 13 of his quarantine from being deployed. He was in Europe and then he came back to Texas for quarantine. And on day 13, someone in his company got COVID. So they reset the 14-day quarantine. And so it was kind of a bummer. So now he's supposed to come home a few days before Christmas. So
All right. We're hoping. So
Anyways,
throw
okay.
that in your prayer basket because that's a big one. It's exciting for family, friends alike. So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, to my left, we have the lead pastor out at the Murphy campus, Brian Lucas. I'm excited. Family tradition with your family, and then are your lights up?
Lights are not up. I'll just go ahead and answer the second one first because Natalie set the precedent. Lights are not up, but the Christmas tree is there.
Does it have lights on it?
Not yet.
Is it in the window?
Adjacent. It's window adjacent.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a forest in your house.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Awesome.
picked it up at Joe's place, right?
Good cause. Good cause.
Yeah. Favorite family tradition.
Not putting lights on their Christmas tree,
No.
that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think for us, one of it is on Christmas morning. A lot of us, like I'm one of 5 siblings, and so at different times, we all get to be together, but not every year. But when we have a Christmas morning tradition of having breakfast at my mom's house, so mom and stepdad, and so we have a huge breakfast, and then before we exchange gifts, we read the nativity story. And my mom has this nativity scene that she's had since like I was little. And I mean, different characters have had to be replaced over the years because, or added to. But each of the grandkids now, so like my kids and their cousins, all get one of the characters from the nativity scene. So my mom hands them all out. And then as we read through the story, when it gets to that character, that child gets up and like goes and places them in the...
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so sometimes it's better in theory, like for especially the little ones, but it's
They're all
usually,
eating it.
yeah, it's
Nom,
usually
nom,
pretty
nom.
good. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's cool. That's awesome. So,
That's fun.
all right. Well, we're just going to dig right into it. Got a lot of good stuff to talk about. But real quick, and just a quick answer. So you have been on this carousel of teaching at different campuses. So Brian's normally at our Murphy campus, but all the pastors are going to different campuses. You've been downtown and you've been at the Rogue River with us. So how has that been for you so far, going and touring new campuses?
Yeah, it's good. I mean,
Not new campuses, but the other campuses.
other campuses. Yeah, I mean, this last weekend I was downtown for the first time for a full weekend teaching, which was kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's good. I mean, truthfully, it's kind of hard to be away from Murphy.
Sure. Yeah.
Any length of time. So there's that's kind of a challenge, is not being at our home campus. But I think, and I've shared this in services too, that especially just kind of even with everything going on in the world right now, I think it kind of communicates something really cool to our church body and our church family, that, I mean, we really are kind of a bigger group. There's some unity there, even in
It's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And it was good to go to Rogue River because got to check in with Tim and Rachel.
Yeah, the band got back together. So
and it was, I think it was Tim's first weekend running the show by himself.
Yeah, and the place is still standing, hopefully. So, so that was a lot of fun. It's been fun. Tyler was out there this week, so now we got the big dog, Mark, at Rogue River next week, and that'll be fun too. So we will be on our best behavior. But let's get right into it. Had an interesting email, so we're going to start us off. Not really, we're talking about the angels, so that's where Brian was at with Downtown Teaching, talking about the angels. So really exciting, really fun. But first, we're going to go into a question more on the background of Christmas. So somebody did write into our Digging Deeper email, and they said, where did we come up with celebrating Christmas on December 25th? And then a really cool, insightful question was, how are Christmas trees and Christmas cookies related to God? And do you think he is pleased or upset with those traditions, as we as Christians are supposed to be in the world but not of the world? So I'm going to go ahead and sling this one to you, Natalie. Ladies first. Maybe some background into why December 25th, and then how did those traditions become such a part of Christmas?
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I am no historian, but I think it's pretty assumed that Jesus was not born on December 25th. I originally had been led to believe it was maybe in the spring sometime when he was born. I know that they say that the shepherds wouldn't have been out in the middle of winter with their sheep, and so I don't know. I'm not really a professional in shepherds either, but I read that somewhere. But yeah, I guess I could be wrong, but I thought I saw that Constantine was wanting to make sometime in 300 AD wanted to make Christianity the main religion of Rome. And so he put Christmas as December 25th because there were 2 other pagan holidays on that day, and he wanted to commandeer that day in a way. And
That's
make
a power
it,
move right there.
Yeah. And so, anyways, that's just what I had read about why it's on December 25th. But yeah, there were some other theories about it, but that's kind of what I had read, I guess.
Yeah, I dug into it a little bit too, and basically there's not a lot of substantial evidence that's supporting that Jesus was born on the 25th. It would be just kind of, I've grown up believing what you were kind of as well, as whereas probably the spring. Some people argue, well, the winters were kind of mild, so the shepherds could have been out, but I'm leaning towards, Facebook isn't going to let me know that Jesus' birthday was on the 25th because we don't really know. But yeah, a lot of those pagan holidays were around the winter solstice. It's kind of interesting that again, maybe it was the Egyptians. They had to believe in a sun god. And so winter came around, and that was to imply that the sun god was sick. And they're like, oh, sun god's sick. But then winter solstice would come around, the days would get a little longer, and winter solstice is right around December. And so they'd be like, yay, sun god's getting healthy again.
Oh, that's so funny.
So that, I think that was one of those pagan holidays you were talking about. Mm-hmm. And then it got, And so they would celebrate the trees that were green year round as kind of a sign of this health or whatever. And those were evergreens and trees that we now use as.
Interesting.
So that was, and then the Germans were the first ones to bring it indoors. And then I heard a rumor that Martin Luther was the first one to put lights on the Christmas tree.
Oh.
So again, that has nothing to do with actual December 25th. But I think I was one of those Wikipedia rabbit trails, and so I'm sitting here just reading about Christmas trees.
Yeah.
And So.
As far as Christmas cookies and Christmas trees, there's things we do to emphasize holidays, and I think it goes, is God displeased with those things? I don't really think so. I guess it goes back to our hearts, and like anything, we can get really caught up in tradition or holidays and maybe forget the main reason for them. But that can happen with anything, Easter or Good Friday or whatever. I don't know. But I think it's kind of fun. I think there's things that we can do with our, whether you have kids or with your family, and I don't know, fun traditions. You can remember there's like symbols where you get to remember certain holidays. Oh, that's what we do at that holiday. That's what we do. And I think it goes back to your heart. I think Christmas cookies are great.
Oh yeah.
I think Christmas trees are awesome. Yeah, I don't really like to think that God's upset with us if we pull out certain things to help us enjoy. So, I mean, it goes back to our hearts, you know. So that's what I would like to say to that, I guess.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Do you have any thoughts to that, Brian?
I don't think I can really top that.
No.
No, I mean, I would say totally agree with Natalie that particularly like in those areas that are a little gray, like there's not a clear prohibition or even an encouragement to do something in Scripture, that those gray areas, I think we have to focus on, like, what does it do to our heart or our attention, right? Like, it's like not, you know, it's not so much about the activities we do as it is about what it actually does to our, you know, kind of the center of us.
Totally. Yeah. Well, and I think going off that, some of these things bring people together. Like food brings people together. Like I mean, I know a lot of people, their tradition is decorating their tree and, you know, with ornaments that make them think of they're nostalgic or something, you know. And I think like when those symbols bring people together, and food is a big part of a holiday. I think that's really cool, you know.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree. And as you said, it's the heart, and that's the bottom line. So those things are totally cool. If mom or dad is yelling and berating the kids because they're not doing the cookies of the tree right, then the heart is wrong. But you took the words right out of. I was thinking like it promotes family and unity. So I could not see God being, don't do that. So no, I totally agree. So to the one to our writer that wrote in that question, I hope that satisfies kind of your area. And as Nat said, it's all about the heart. And if it is family and you are unifying family, then I would think all praise to the Lord for that one. So if you disagree, go ahead and write us at our email. And
T. Sorensen.
no, email Tim.
All right. Well, Brian, let's get down to the angels. I think the angels is one of those things where we all have our image. If someone says angel, you either are thinking Cupid, you are thinking a big ball of light, or some beautiful blonde, you know,
baby.
Some very glowing creature. But so I want to throw this to you. Who and what are the angels that are in the story? What do we think they look like? And I have some more follow-up questions after that I was thinking about. But let's just start with the character profile. Who are the angels?
That is a big question. That is a really big question. And I'm not actually, I think, able to give a super clear answer.
Not a shepherd's expert, not an angel's expert, but still very qualified.
Yeah, you might have miscast the show today, Tim. But no, I mean, obviously there are things that we know of angels in Scripture, but you know, there is actually kind of this whole other branch of like angelology. I don't know what you call it, but
write that down. That's a word.
That's probably not a word, but you know, like there are people who like this is a very big deal. I think some of the things that we do know, like because we find in the Bible, you know, we know that they're you know, spiritual beings, right? We know that they are angels in particular, specifically, are like God's messengers. So they kind of are at work to enact God's will in the world. You know, that there are a couple different, usually like the cherubim and the seraphim are you know, kind of included in that, and you know, kind of more in that, like there's, you know, there seems to be kind of some different levels, different ranks of angels. There's the ones that are primarily seem to be focused around God's presence, which would be like, you know, the cherubim, which is why they're, you know, there's those inscription, those, you know, they're on the Ark of the Covenant, you know, just kind of symbolizing that's where God's presence is kind of resting on them. You know, and those are, you know, a lot of times depicted, again, not necessarily a clear vision given to us in the Bible, but, you know, sometimes the body of a lion and, you know, with wings and a human face and
some really
scary,
really
wild stuff.
Knock you out of your socks kind of.
but but as far as the messengers that come to people like Gabriel, right? I mean, there seem to be very specific messengers to, yeah. I don't know.
No, that was great for a non-angel expert. You did phenomenal. You have anything to add?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think that it's interesting because I think we can be quick to assume that there's just God and then humans. But there's a lot more than that. You know, there's spiritual beings, as Brian said. And I think we could be like, oh, that's kind of weird. Or we can be like really fascinated by that. You know, I don't know. I just think that's cool.
Well, and I think that's totally our bent too. Culturally, like we're materialistic in that. I mean, we tend to just value what we can see and we can touch.
Right.
And so the idea of kind of a spiritual realm of things going on that's actually impacting what we're doing is even just kind of culturally really weird to us.
Yeah.
And even just thinking about, though, while they are spiritual, they're also very effective at doing things in the world. You know, there's I think it's just one angel in 2 Kings that wipes out 185,000 person army, like one angel. So, you know, it's like, I don't think we have a category for that right now. You know?
I think we do. I just don't think we're allowed to say it on camera. But no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, especially in Western culture. I mean, there's a lot of emphasis on just what is seen, you know. But yeah, it's interesting. Huh.
Yeah, and I mean, natural human bent. Obviously, angels are going to look just like humans, as we say, right? But they're going to glow because they're heavenly. Yeah. Where, man, you get some of those angels, and you're like, you are probably a pretty. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, freaky, terrifying, gnarly is the right word, but yeah, it totally will force us as we dig deeper into angels. It really forces us to kind of expand our thought or understanding on them. So
yeah, and I mean, I think there's definitely times that they look like a person. Yeah. You know, it's like, it's clear that they look like a person. But I also, one of the things I really love about even that Luke chapter 2, the first angel, but that, you know, the angels, they're glorious. Like they have this glory, the shining, but it's God's glory that, you know, it's not like their own. And which is cool to me.
Yeah, and then we're gonna we're gonna go in a little bit more to that specific scene, but I want to just camp on angels in general for a little bit longer. So, one, do angels still appear in modern times? I would say to the degree that we see in the accounts in the Bible, and then, do angels sin? So that's kind of an interesting question that came to my mind. Do they have the characteristics of humans, or are they more godlike or sinless or not? Or is that even a metric that is used to apply to angels? So I'll send that one back to you. I don't know if you have a specific direction to go with that, but.
Thanks, Tim. No, I mean, I think I don't think I've encountered an angel in my life.
That's an insult to me, but we're just going to move right past that.
But, you know, I think it's Hebrews 13, you know, says that, you know, talks about entertaining angels unaware. So I think we have every reason to believe that angels still, I mean, it'd be totally possible to have an encounter with an angel. I don't think I've had one where I've recognized that it was happening. But I certainly don't rule out the possibility, because that seems like it could happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then as far as whether they can sin or not, I mean, they certainly seem to have a choice. Like they've been given a choice. You know, obviously there were a large amount of angels that chose to join in a rebellion against God. So, you know, there's also kind of an interesting dynamic in, you know, that kind of I think it's Hebrews 2. That talks about how people are special because God actually had a redemption plan for us, versus angels, there was no redemption plan for them.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Well, in the show Touched by an Angel on by TLC. No, I'm just kidding. It's like,
No, that's where I get all my angel theology. And you said Hebrews 13 was that, but I also think the Newsboys coined that entertaining angels before.
oh, yeah, I was just looking up that verse.
Wait, did you just say the Newsboys coined that before Hebrews chapter 13 was written?
Obviously, it was a
I mean,
joke.
He's fired,
That
okay?
band's been around for a while, but
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
You were saying something.
I think I was just referencing Touched by an Angel. Yeah. No, but I think I was just looking up that verse in Hebrews. It's cool to think, to just add value to that. I mean, I think it adds value to people, treating everyone with hospitality and all that. So I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's kind of fun. I'm not saying I make my walk with Jesus conditional or I'm going to try and do things just because of this, but like to know that maybe there could be one of those situations where you are operating in some manner or dealing with somebody or working with somebody that could just, I mean, that idea they could be an angel. Because you hear about it like, I turned around and they were gone, right? It's kind of, fun. Why wouldn't God do that? Why wouldn't God use angels? There's nothing saying he won't. So, it's fun to think about, I think, and especially where Scripture doesn't give us all the answers. It's kind of fun, I think, to let our thought process go as long as it doesn't become an idol to our lives. But as Nat and I were talking about this, I think last week, one thing that we both agreed on in this story was that there's an underrated character in this story, and that's the shepherds. And I know what you're thinking. Well, shepherds get a lot of screen time in the Nativity. They're talked about a lot. But as you dig deeper, which I'm going to stop, I think that's like 3 times this podcast, they weren't necessarily the highest praised people. So, Nat, why do you think the shepherds were underrated? And then why did God use them in a pretty big part in this story?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Luke is the only story that talks about the shepherds. Am I wrong on that? Matthew might. But I don't think, the shepherds in the birth story, because Mark, for whatever reason, just jumped straight to Jesus' miracles. And then John kind of, said, started talking about John the Baptist in the beginning. And then
I think you're
word,
right.
Word became flesh and all that. And then Matthew, the first chapter is like the genealogy, and then talks a little bit about Jesus' birth, a little bit. But Luke really dives in. Like, Luke really chose to really unfold the story with all the different characters. And I don't know I don't know why maybe the shepherds are underrated. Maybe, I've read in some places that shepherds were not as high up in status. I think Luke as a whole does write about, as far as like when Jesus came, he came with this upside down kingdom in mind. And, what was that prophecy where, Jesus said from Isaiah, like, I've come, the Spirit of the Lord is on me to proclaim freedom to the poor, and, poor in status, poor economically, poor in IQ, poor in morality. Like, Jesus coming had a lot of social implications. And so I think, that the shepherds being part of that, the shepherds were the first to, come on the scene and see, just the star. And so I don't know. I appreciate the shepherds. I think they provide I think in the story of Luke, we just see these characters that were just so available. Like, and I don't even think that it's a dig towards the rich or whatever, but I think God cares about people who are available. Like, it's not necessarily just poor people, but people who are available. And shepherds, from the first verse, it says they were keeping watch. Like, they were watching their flocks, but part of me thinks that verse means they just were keeping watch. Like, they were just they just were open and available to just be ready, And so I just think that's kind of cool.
I don't think I've ever. That's a brilliant point. I don't know if I've ever thought about one of the key attributes of the shepherds being they're available. But you're totally right, and I love it. I mean, because as we looked at the life of Jesus, he is using and blessing outcasts everywhere, from his disciples to, I mean, yeah, rarely was it he was high-fiving, he was running with the rich religious leaders. So like from day one, he's using the outcast, like literally from his birth. That is the first interaction where he is using, because yeah, from what I understand, shepherds unreliable, kind of social outcast just as a whole, not necessarily these guys, but as a whole. I mean, and honestly, they probably smelt a little bit. Like,
Well, their friends were sheep.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like that.
And
So
I don't mean to dock people, but like that does dock you a few cool points if your best friends are sheep. Like just a little bit.
yeah.
So you're starting there. They probably smell like sheep poo and just sheep in general. So
Yeah.
yeah, not the superstar of the movie when you're thinking about casting someone. And so from day one, Jesus is using that. So yeah, I don't know if you had any thoughts to that.
Well, I mean, I mentioned this in my message too, like, but sorry, it's a repeat for anybody who heard the message. But no, I think that one of the things that is cool about this is God's message was, this is good news for all people, right? Like the message to the shepherds. And he could have sent the angels to give that message anywhere in the world, any palace, any king, anywhere.
Just put them on loudspeaker just to
Right.
go over everywhere.
But by having the original message given to the shepherds, it was like putting it in action,
Yeah. Because there was that verse that said, then they went out and told
Yeah.
like everyone they knew, or I don't know if I just embellished that, but they just hopped into action and just evangelized about it. So
Yeah. No, and that kind of leads me to my next thought is like, I wonder what that looked like. And I don't think there's any scripture that's going to back this up. So this might just be us kind of round tabling. But like, so you're sitting there, keeping watch. Angel comes, blows your mind, and tells you to go. So as you said, you just go. So I'm curious, like, one, what is to stop the shepherds from just being like, that was cool, but we have a job to do? Because I think we do that sometimes. For me, actually, I won't say we, I'll say me. Like, that was really cool, God. I see what you did there. I see what you want me to do, but I'm busy. I have another task. And then, like, I'm curious, did they just quit their jobs and go? Like, sorry, lead shepherd, or sorry, big sheep. Like, we're out. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts to that, but like, because when they're told to go, I'm guessing they weren't like, we're just going to go to our I bet they were running down the street just shouting at anybody they saw. So, yeah, I don't know if you guys have thoughts about that, but that's yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah. But again, yeah, they just were available, which is like such a theme, I think, among the characters in this story. Yeah.
Maybe it's just my personality. I hope there was at least like maybe a little bit of responsibility. Like maybe there was,
They closed the pen or
they
something.
they put something in the way so the sheep couldn't all escape maybe. But but I think it also goes to the fact though of, I don't think you could count it against them if they were just so overcome by what they'd seen that they almost like were out of their minds and just like ran to go do it.
Yeah. I mean, I would have been the one to be like, oh, let's go do this. And everyone's like, come on, Carl. Like, you got to put up your, I don't know. But here's a parallel that doesn't make, that I just made up in my head. Jesus leaves the 99 to go get the one. They left their 99 to go see the one.
Whoa.
I don't know if that one was lost though.
He wasn't, but
it's
capital O.
It's okay.
Let me
Every
have my
metaphor
moment.
breaks down at some point. It's all right.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, somebody on the other side of that camera really liked that and they're putting it on their Facebook. So
Oh my gosh.
no, just kidding. But all right, so moving into so our series was these songs, and you have the songs of the angels, and so we're going to kind of look into that. And I'm actually going to read. I believe we have 8 verses or 7 verses. Sorry, I can't count well. So I'm going to go ahead and read that real quick. If you guys listening don't like my voice, you can pause it. You can read Luke 2 verses 8 through 14. But I'm going to read through it, and then we're going to kind of unpack it a little bit, I think. So verse 8, it says, that night there were shepherds staying in the fields nearby, as we've been talking about, guarding their flocks of sheep. Suddenly an angel of the Lord appeared among them, and the radiance of the Lord's glory surrounded them. They were terrified. But the angel reassured them. Don't be afraid, he said. I bring you good news that will bring great joy to all people. The Savior, yes, the Messiah, the Lord, has been born today in Bethlehem, the city of David. And you will recognize him by this sign. You will find a baby wrapped snugly in strips of cloth, lying in a manger. Verse 13, suddenly the angel was joined by a vast host of others, the armies of heaven praising God and saying, "Glory to God in highest heaven, and peace on earth to those with whom God is pleased." So there's a lot there, and so I have a lot of questions. The first statement is I really want to see like a big Hollywood movie producer really just paint that picture for us. I think like James Cameron or whoever. Just
Michael Bay.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yes.
That would be intense. Yeah, just that scene alone. But for you guys, and Brian, I'll start with you. What is one word that you would use to describe this scene? You can't use terrifying because that's used in the passage. But if you, and then Nat, I'll sling that same question to you after Brian. One word, if you were a fly on the wall or a fly in the tree, whatever, what's one word you'd use to describe that scene?
I don't think this is going to be super dramatic, but I think bright.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think particularly just because it was like nighttime and they were doing their thing, and then just instantly, I mean, it had to be like brighter than daylight.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like I think that would be.
Yeah, no, I don't think this was any dim festival or anything. I think bright's a good word for it. Now, what about you?
I was gonna say glorious, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think just how it's like powerful is kind of a word I would use to describe, but I think that partners with your guys' real well. But then, so Brian, another question I had, why one angel and then all the angel buddies come later? Do you think that was just, what do you think the purpose in that order was?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I don't think we know for sure. I think to me, I think because there was a message that they wanted to communicate, if they'd all shown up at the same time, I feel like the shepherds would have just been like totally overloaded.
Yeah.
Like there would have been no
Emotionally exhausted,
like they would
yeah.
not have retained any information at all. And so by sending the one, which is enough to like scare anybody, but just the one, they were able to actually kind of set the stage and give some instruction and kind of let them know what was going on so that they didn't just all faint basically when the
Yeah. I don't know if you had any thoughts to that.
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, but one angel comes and then there's more, right?
Yeah. Then the vast host, I think it says.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it was just trying to just proclaim all of heaven's. Well, yeah. So one at first, but then it's like all of heaven's excitement that,
Oh, that's a cool way to put it.
just that the word became flesh, So, yeah.
I think it's fascinating that the word to describe. So I mean, you got these shepherds where the top two most exciting things that probably happen in their life are like sheep fights or like I don't know some sort of predator, maybe a wolf or something would come. Like that would be pretty terrifying. But it's interesting that they use that word to define the angel coming. So it had to be just a really grand entrance. It wasn't like a dude's behind a tree like, "Hey guys, hey, I'm an angel here. I have some words." Like. Dude had to make an entrance, and that was just the one.
Oh, you mean the terrifying word.
Yeah. So it describes it that they were terrified that when the angel came, and I'm blown away that like that's the word that describes this interaction between the one to the other. So,
Well, and I mean also that that phrase that the heavenly host. I mean is generally taken as like a military term. So I mean if you can imagine, even without all the otherworldly angel glory, everything, if just there was an army showed up in front of these guys, that would have been super imposing and frightening. But then, on top of that, they're like angels. It's crazy.
yeah. No, and it goes to a little bit of length. Like it doesn't say more angels showed up. Like he was joined by a vast host of others, the armies, as you had said, the armies. And so that probably, because I kind of asked the question, what's stopping shepherds from just shrugging this off? It was probably the army of angels that really made them realize the importance of this. It's like one angel, we're not convinced. And so everyone else is like, boom. And they're like, we should probably listen.
Yeah.
This is gonna.
Yeah,
They're like,
we're
"You
not,
will."
not asking, telling.
Yeah.
You will go to Bethlehem and see this thing. Yeah.
And they're like, Carl, I know what you're thinking. No, you will. You're not getting out of this. I don't know why shepherds are named Carl in my mind. They probably weren't in real life. But
Yeah.
so, yeah, one more thing I think I want to talk about is and this might kind of fall into the category of we don't know for sure because the scriptures didn't provide a ton of evidence, but we might. And so my question to you, Brian, is what was the shepherds' familiarity prior to this event happening? So my thought was, were they just completely like, huh? Like, what is this? Who are you? What are angels? Who's a Messiah? Or was there this prophecy that they would have been told growing up, going through whatever school or education they'd had? So yeah, were they familiar with it at all, or was this Messiah 101 from the angels to the shepherds all in one night?
Good question, Tim. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think we know for sure because it's not told to us for sure in the scripture. But I do think there are some things we know. I mean, we do know that the prophecy existed, centuries earlier, Isaiah had written about, that, and we also know that there was a general belief that a Messiah was coming. That would have been pretty common. But I think also when you look at, Herod was surprised, right, when the wise men showed up.
Yeah.
So even the people who should have actually been studying these prophecies and had the chart on the wall, right? They were surprised. So I don't think it's I think it's totally logical to think the shepherds were caught off guard, but at the same time, we're definitely familiar with a Messiah that was coming.
Right. They're putting the pieces together after all this happened. And they start on their journey. They're just like, oh, I get it. This is all that was happening, but probably took them a while, my guess. So yeah. Thoughts on that one? Or?
Oh, no. I guess I was just thinking how we as readers of the book of Luke, we can see all these pieces working together and God doing this and this and this, and I think each character couldn't really see those pieces as well.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Yeah, I think I just need to remember, when stuff feels confusing in my life, that God's also working through other characters in my life or in other places or in other things. And we don't always get the luxury of seeing the big picture of things. I think as I read Luke 2, it should really fill me with excitement to see God doing all these things and also to be encouraged by these characters who couldn't see these things happening, but still just did as they were told. Or I don't know. I guess so two different things there. I think it's good to remember that God's working through other people with his plans, and we're one piece of that. And as we step out in faith and are obedient, then we're furthering his kingdom, and we're hoping that other believers are stepping out, and then we find a way to, I don't know, it comes to pass, I guess.
Wow.
But also encouraged by these characters who couldn't see those pieces, but just knew that they were part of it. But anyways, yeah. So I actually don't know if the shepherds would have necessarily been aware of the Messiah coming, maybe as well as some of the other people, but I think they did as they felt they should, and they went to Bethlehem. And so I don't know. Anyways, that was just kind of a word vomit, but
no, that was not word vomit. That was just a beautiful, I think, a freeing reminder that you had said. That was kind of the words in my head as you were speaking, that as we are being faithful, the Lord is operating in other people's lives as well. For those of you that are at work and I'm really just trying to be a light to Jesus at my work, well, be faithful, because there's a good chance that he's got somebody else in the scene that he's working on as well. So that's a wonderful reminder.
For sure. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And I kind of got me thinking, I wonder what the nativity scene looked like from every point of view. We have the luxury of going through scripture. We get to put the donkey there and the baby in the manger, and then the wise men, but a few feet out because they weren't there for a few years. But I'm curious what the nativity scene looked like from all of their points of view.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
for sure.
Yeah, it'll look a lot different than ours, but that was a wonderful reminder. And then, if I'm not mistaken, so yeah, this was not a thought I had prepped you guys with, but as I'm kind of reading through this, so I guess confirm or deny, but it's interesting in verse 12, it says, you will recognize him by this sign. So the angels are saying this Messiah is here, and you are going to recognize him by this one sign. And it says, you will find a baby wrapped snugly in strips of cloth lying in a manger. To us, that doesn't really seem like there's anything that's going to be standing out. But if like correct me if I'm wrong, the real sign, like a baby in strips of cloth, nothing new there. But it was the manger that was probably the curveball, right? Because you'd expect, like, I don't know, in our time, it's like, all right, go to the hospital and the children's ward, you'll see the baby. But this would be like, you're gonna find a baby in a hut outside the town, and that's your sign.
Yeah,
So
it's at the Jiffy Lube. It's not at the hospital.
someone's gonna see a baby in a Jiffy Lube and be like, I think I'm supposed to do something.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So yeah, that I kind of read that, and again, for us, from our perspective, if you said, Natalie, like, we're just used to Jesus is a little baby in some cloth, he's in a manger, sounds cool, makes for a good song. But the manger was a really kind of wonky part of the story, like that wasn't supposed to be happening. So yeah, just a little.
And they were shepherds, so they knew where all the mangers were.
Oh yeah,
Maybe.
could
I don't know.
That's right.
they have an app for that for sure, right? All right, well, cool. I don't know if you guys have any last thoughts before we get into keep digging on that song. I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to share from your message that you didn't get to, or if you guys had any extra bonus thoughts. But
I think your questions were pretty thorough, Tim.
cool, that works for me.
Yeah, I think that something that I appreciated from Brian's teaching was, and I think you guys talked about music last week a little bit, the importance of impactness, the importance of songs and stuff. But I thought some of the stuff you said about music and like, do you remember? I feel like I'm gonna butcher it if I say it, but something about there was a someone who had dementia that remembered some memories when they had listened to music. Do you remember what you had said on that? I was like so shocked at that. But I know you kind of talked about it in the last Digging Deeper, but just how impactful music and songs are. And I don't know, it's just interesting.
No, I mean, I think we can totally talk about that again because we are in a series of songs. But yeah, I don't know if you want to unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there were a couple things I think I mentioned, but I mean, one of them was, they actually have music therapies for people with, advanced dementia or other memory, diseases that affect the memory. And that, there are people who, have not been able to speak a word for a long time, sometimes even years in one story. But through kind of songs, particularly songs that are like familiar to them from their youth, that, it's like they'll kind of snap out of it. And it's because it's sort of a different part of their brain that activates, and that through kind of working with that, you can, people are actually able to regain a little bit of that, like can regain some speech and.
Wow. Oh yeah, no, that's. I'm just reminded that songs totally have a nostalgic attachment to them and can totally put you in a mood. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but I have no problem believing that somebody with dementia could kind of be.
Yeah. Well, and I think I mentioned I have a friend that works with people who have dementia, and that he's like, there's people who have trouble communicating, but a song comes on that they know and they can sing every single word to the song. Like,
Man,
it's just amazing. Yeah.
I Nicole and I were in Medford recently at this clothes store, and Nicole was like, I always hate the music in this store. Like, it's so like, it's just, and we were both thinking, this music makes us feel depressed. And I was like, why does some of this music make me feel this way? And I remember back in high school, I would listen to a lot of, and secular music is fine, of course, but I remember listening to a lot of different secular music. And I remember the undertones of the songs, and I think the music I would listen to in high school, it wasn't like explicit or anything, but it just had some of these codependent undertones, and the I won't even name drop bands, but like different, and I realized,
Come
like,
on, Natalie.
I know, okay, I remember
listening.
Coldplay? I used to listen to a lot of like The Script and Coldplay and Savage Garden and all of those, and which good bands for sure, but I actually and again, this is just my conviction, I wouldn't say this is a something that every Christian should abide by, but I gave up secular music because stuff would get stuck in my head. And of course, music is so powerful. It gets stuck in your head. It's kind of designed to do that. And I didn't like meditating on stuff. And if a song is stuck in my head and I'm thinking about it, I think that's the equivalent of meditating on something, and we're called to meditate only on God's word, And so I guess I found a connection to the music I listened to in high school and my mood. And anyways, and so I kind of try and encourage high schoolers to be careful about the music they listen to, because I think it is just so powerful. And so I try to just listen to Christian music but again, I don't think that's what everyone has to do. I know for me, it's important to.
No, I totally agree. Music can be very influential subconsciously, and unfortunately, high school students are very influenced. And I think for me, same thing. Influenced my language. So music with bad words or whatever, I was going to be have a natural propensity to just be a little bit more loose with that as I was younger. But no, I totally agree with that. So, okay, we're going to go into our keep digging. So if you're a new listener, just a resource that these two can give you if you want to continue to pursue, I think just the idea of angels or shepherds or even the birth of Jesus. But I do want to encourage you that if you are curious about angels and you just Google information about angels, be careful to check your source, which is why I have these two that are going to provide a source, because they're a little bit more trusted than Google sending you to a link that somebody made in their basement about why angels are going to be president or something. So I didn't get to that link, but So Nat, we'll start with you. What is a resource that you'd encourage the listeners to kind of keep digging in?
Yeah, I was telling Brian earlier that I just loved the Bible Project has different series that they come out with. They have an Advent series. They have all kinds of different word studies, and but they recently came out with a spiritual beings series where they unpack, anything the in between not humans, not God, but the spiritual beings. So the divine council, demons, cherubim, angels, the angel of the Lord. And so anyways, it's kind of neat. I mean, there's that verse that says our battle isn't against flesh and blood, but against, dark rulers and this and that. And so I think it's good to have a little bit of an awareness of, again, you might not be able to see someone and be angel, but or demon, that are so messed up. One
doesn't work well.
But I think us just having a little bit more just, having a little bit of a capacity of that in our, trajectory, it might be important. And so I found that series to be really good. So you can just type in spiritual beings Bible Project on YouTube.
Yeah.
Maybe not spiritual beings on YouTube.
Don't forget
Start with
that.
the Bible Project.
Yeah, Bible Project
Bible
is
Project.
a great
spiritual
resource.
beings, yeah, for sure.
Spiritual beings, that'll get you to a weird YouTube journey for sure.
Yeah.
So Bible Project.
But also, if you want to watch Touched by an Angel.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm just kidding.
It's not bad.
Except the theology. That's
the only thing wrong with it. The theology. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I actually only watched one episode of that show. So
one episode a day. Just kidding. Okay, Brian, to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Bible Project is probably a really good, especially since people can just kind of click from here to there, right? One book that I think is really good on the topic is by Michael Heiser, and I think it's what the Bible really says about angels, or what the Bible really says about the heavenly host, or something to that effect. But the author is Michael Heiser, and it's a pretty good just based on what is found in the Bible. So there's all this other stuff that's kind of around it, and different tradition, and even different traditions that come from some of the older Judaism, and that was kind of the extra biblical ideas that there's actually there's enough talked about in the Bible about angels that we can know some things, but there's also just a lot of mystery, and and we have to be okay with that. But I'd recommend that book.
Nice.
All right, cool. Awesome. So those are two things on your list of what to watch. On your list of what not to watch: Touched by an Angel, Charlie's Angels, good entertainment but not good theology. So, with that being said, you two, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Always a
thanks,
joy
Tim.
having you guys here, and just in my life in general. So, thank you guys, listeners. Thanks for tuning in. Next week, I believe we have Tyler Goins from the Redwood campus, and who I call Mr. Fry. Some of you know him by Andy. We got him talking about the Song of Simeon. So That'll be
I
good.
got a question.
Yes.
Is Anthony Stevens ever going to be a guest on Digging Deeper?
I am really
think he
hoping.
needs to.
Yeah, I'm really hoping. Yeah, let's do it. Let's get it going. Anthony is our man behind the camera today. One of these times he will be on this side of the camera. So if you ask, you will receive, Brian. So until then, hope you guys are getting your decorations up and getting ready for that Christmas spirit. From us to you, have a wonderful day.